Hey kids, this is Princess Readaloud from Kids Reading Corner 207, and today we're going to read Hooray for Diffendoofer Day by Dr. Seuss with some help from Jack Prelutsky and Lane Smith. Hooray for Diffendoofer Day. I've always lived in Dinkerville. My friends all live here too. We go to Diffendoofer school. We're happy that we do. Our school is at the corner of Dinkzuber and Dinkzot. It looks like any other school, but we suspect it's not. I think we're learning lots of things that is not taught at other schools. Our teachers are remarkable. They make up their own rules. Mrs. Bobble teaches listening, Mrs. Wobble teaches smelling, Mrs. Fribble teaches laughing, and Mrs. Quibble teaches yelling. Mrs. Twinning teaches tying knots in neckerchiefs and noodles, and to tell criticism from miniature poodles. Mrs. Vinning teaches all the ways a pigeon may he be peppered, and how to put a saddle on a lizard or a leopard. My teacher is Mrs. Bonkers. She's as bouncy as a flea. I'm not certain what she teaches, but I'm glad she teaches me. Look, look, she chirps. I'll show you how to tell a cactus from a cow, and then I shall instruct you why a hippo cannot hope to fly. She even teaches frogs to dance and pigs to put on underpants. One day she taught a duck to sing. Mrs. Bonker teaches everything. Of all the teachers in our school, I like Mrs. Bonkers best. Our teachers are all different, but she's differenter than the rest. We also have a principal. His name is Mr. Lowe. He is the very saddest man that any of us know. He mumbles, "Are they learning this and that and such and such?" His face is wrinkled as a prune from worrying so much. He breaks a lot of pencil points from pushing down too hard, and many dogs start barking as he mopes around the yard. We think he wears false eyebrows. In fact, we're sure it's so. We've heard he takes them off at night. I guess we'll never know. But we know he likes Mrs. Bonkers. He treats her like a queen. He's always there to watch her when she's on her trampoline. There are so many other people who make Diffendoofer run. They are utterly amazing. I love every single one. Our nurse, Mrs. Clot, knows what to do when we've got sniffles or the flu. One day I had a splinter, so she bandaged me from head to toe. Mr. Plunger, our custodian, he has fashioned a machine, a super zuper flooper doo that keeps the whole school clean. Our music teacher, Mrs. Fox, makes bagpipes out of straws and socks. Our art instructor, Mr. Bees, paints pictures hanging by his knees. In science class with Mr. Klatz, we learn to build robotic rats. In gym, we watch as Mr. Bear hoists elephants into the air. Mrs. Loon is our librarian. She hides behind the shelves. She and often cries out louder when we're reading to ourselves. We have 3 cooks, all named Mick Munch, who merrily prepare our lunch. They make us hot dogs, beans, and fries, plus things we do not recognize. As they cook, they sing their song, not too short and not too long. Roast and toast and slice and dice, cooking lunch is oh so nice. We were eating their concoctions telling jokes and making noise. When Mr. Lowe appeared and howled, "Attention, girls and boys!" he began to fuss and fidget, scratch and mutter, sneeze and cough. He shook his head so hard we thought his eyebrows would come off. He wrung his hands and cleared his throat. He shed a single tear, then sobbed, "I've got something to announce, and that's why I'm here. All schools for miles and miles around must take a special test to see who's learning such and such, to see which school's the best. If our small school does not do well, then it will be torn down, and you will have to go to school in dreary Flobbertown." "Not Flobbertown," we shouted, and shuddered at the name. "And for everyone in Flobbertown does everything the same. It's miserable in Flobbertown. They dress in just one style. They sing one song, they never dance, they march in single file. They do not have a playground, and they do not have a park. Their lunches don't have taste at all. Their dogs are scared to bark." Mrs. Bonkers rose. "Don't fret," she said. "You've learned the things you need to pass the test and many more. I'm certain you'll succeed. We've taught you that the earth is round, that red and white make pink, and something else that matters more. We've taught you how to think." "I hope you're right," said Mr. Lowe. He shed another tear. "The test is in 10 minutes, and you're taking it right here." We sat in shock and disbelief. "Oh no," we moaned, "oh no." We were even more unhappy than unhappy Mr. Lowe. But then the test was handed out. "Yahoo!" we yelled, "Yahoo!" For it was filled with all the things that we knew. There were questions about noodles and poodles, frogs and yelling, about listening and laughing, and criticism and smelling. There were questions about other things we never seen or heard, and yet we somehow answered them, enjoying every word. 1 week later, after recess, Mr. Lowe meandered in. We never seen him smile before, but now he wore a grin. As he soon began to giggle, then his giggle grew by half, and then it really happened. Mr. Lowe began to laugh. "You've saved our school! You've saved our school!" he jubilantly roared. "We got the highest score." He wrote it on the board. Mrs. Bonkers did some cartwheels till her face turned cherry red. She pounded up to Mr. Lowe and kissed him on the head. "Hooray, hooray!" she shouted. "I'm so proud I cannot speak." So she did another cartwheel and pecked him on the cheek. "Ahem, ahem," coughed Mr. Lowe. "You all deserve a bow. I thus declare a holiday. It starts exactly now. Because you've done so splendidly in every sort of way, this day forever shall be known as Diffendoofer Day. And furthermore, I promise I won't ever wear a frown, for now I know we'll never go to dreary Flobbertown." Then we held a celebration. There was pizza, milk, and cake. Like everyone, I ate too much and got a bellyache. We laughed and whooped and hollered the entire school day long. Then we sang triumphantly the Diffendoofer song. "We love you, Diffendoofer School. We definitely do. There surely is no other school that's anything like you. You're grumptious and grobulous. Each day we love you more. You are the school we treasure and increasingly adore. Oh, finest school in Dinkerville, the only one as well. We love you, Diffendoofer School, much, much more than we can tell. You are so Diffendooferous. it gives us joy to say 3 cheers for Diffendoofer School. Hooray, hooray, hooray! How this book came to be. Dr. Seuss, or Ted, as everyone called him, his real name being Theodore Seuss Gazelle, usually didn't talk about what he was working on. Often, he had no idea what the book was until he flew to New York to present us with such a polished manuscript and the finished art. However, during a telephone chat in 1988 or 1989, when I asked him what he was doing, he did not sidestep the question with a humorous non-answer. "Oh, I'm trying to do a book about a school teacher," he said, "but I'm not sure if teachers will like it." I assured him that the teachers probably would like it. "Well, I don't know," he continued. "This teacher is pretty different." That was the first and the last I heard of the project, and within a year or so, he submitted to me, his editor at Random House, "Oh, the Places You Will Go," his last work. After Ted died in 1991, I asked his steadfast secretary, Claudie Prescott, to send me wherever he had done on the book about the teacher. Oh yes, Miss Bonkers," she instantly responded, for that was how Ted referred to me. He had the sketches up on his bulletin board for a long time, Claudie said, and he used to say, "Mrs. Bonkers is driving me bonkers." Ted had taken a fancy to Mrs. Bonkers, and Claudie hoped that I would too. When the package arrived, I ripped it open and read it in a rush. There were 14 pages of wonderful colored pencils and sketches, each with scribbled couplet or two in Ted's characteristic handprinting. Some pages had as many as 4 different sketches. The package also included a few other sheets of paper with lists of possible names for the school and places in the school, such as the lunchroom and the gym where he planned to take the story. The end. Thanks for listening, and read lots.